really gotta finish remodeling this theater. It's just kind of shambly, shackish. Gotta fix that up. Well, anyway, great big hey howdy hey to all my beautiful goofy goobers in internet land. Welcome back to Animanic with Comic Auzi, where we pretty much talk about any piece of media so long as it's animated. I'm Comic Auzi, and tonight we are going to be watching a classic, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Now, this film, as far as package films go, hello, Scribe, and also, happy birthday, Blue Heart Tattoo! Woo! Happy birthday! Blue Heart Tattoo has a birthday tomorrow. That's something to mention at the top of the chat. You probably can't see it there now, because chat scrolled up and that stupid YouTube welcome to the live chat thing is sitting there, but it's up there. Trust me. Yeah. Oh, and hello Ryder. Anyway, so as I was saying, this film was very interesting in the fact that there is a version out there of this movie that is basically just the Wind of the Willows segment and just the Legend of Sleepy Hollow segment. You can buy those separately on DVD. But this film packages them together and kind of brilliantly, not gonna lie. Having both of them be books in the same library and the beautiful stained glass window, which we'll get to, is very, very pretty. I love the stained glass window. But anyway, so yeah, they basically just package these films together, and because they are two different ones, they both have two different narrators. I think Squad mentioned that one of the narrators in the last film we watched, like the narrator who was introducing all the segments, was supposedly in this. If he is, I don't think he is. I think it's a completely different guy. It's like there's one guy who has the narration of The Wind of the Willows, and then Bing Crosby delivers the entirety of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, with the exception of all the female singers, you know, that are in the short. But for the most part, like, most of the voices that you hear in the Ichabod Crane segment, basically Bing Crosby. Mostly Bing Crosby. Mostly, almost entirely, completely Bing Crosby. Unless it's a woman's voice. Or I guess a cartoon scream, which does happen at least a few times. It's spoopy. It's very spoopy. It's very, and actually legitimately terrifying, but we're gonna get to that. God, I love this film. You hear I have a lot to say about it, so enough rambling about it. Let's go ahead and begin it. You guys can find this film on Disney Plus, as it says up there in the corner, and without the 11-second warning, because this movie is largely not very problematic. So, yeah, so let us go ahead and dump ourselves right into this movie very soon here. I'm gonna sync you up in a 3 and a 2 and a 1, and let's go. I'm not gonna get sick of that RKO logo. It's not interesting the way they frame that. Like, Ichabod's all fancy letters, and then Mr. Toad's just calligraphy. Bing Crosby relating the story of Ichabod Crane, as I said. Basil Rathbone narrating the story of Mr. Toad. Oh, I love Basil Rathbone. God. He's such a great, like, villainous actor from old movies. I've only really always seen him in one movie, though, but, like, he was great in that. Iwerks is in the Technicolor department. That's great. Did he and Disney patch things up at a certain point? Because he kind of left Disney, he kind of left Walt in the dust at a certain point. But it's kind of, Claude Coates! He's probably responsible for a lot of the backgrounds, the color and styling, definitely for the Sleepy Hollow segment, because that one gets scary. Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. Milk Call! Fred Moore as a character animator. Fred Moore was the guy who redesigned Mickey Mouse. Like, when you see his modern design in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, he's the one who came up with that design. Jack Kinney is a director for a lot of, like, short cartoons. This is all live action here, obviously, but, like, it's still very beautiful, and I think using a real library to then animate the stories as they might appear in your head as you're reading the book is kind of a brilliant take. It's a very different performance that he's putting on. Just kind of that British, you know, narrator voice that he's doing. Love Basil Rathbone. They would adapt King Arthur later. Oh, and oh god, they would adapt all of these. God, that is so. They would adapt all of those movies. They did Oliver and Company. They did Robin Hood. They did fucking. What was the other one? You said like no, Sherlock Holmes. They would do at least Basil of Baker Street. I love how Toad just looks like a little man while also still looking very frog-like because he doesn't have ears or a nose, but it works. He's a very handsome individual, you know? Angus McBadger. Oh, but this... Oh, you don't remember this part? Oh, man, but this part has so many great bits. It starts off slow, but Toad is a nice and wild character. I mean, there's a whole reason why Walt Disney, when he opened Disneyland in 1955, basically 6 years after this movie would come out, it's like, oh yeah, if I'm gonna base a ride off of anything, I'm gonna base it off of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, because that sounds like a fun idea for a madcap, like, dark ride that we could just, you know, have fun for the kids and the family, just have a little cute joke. I'll get to those references as they come along. Do I think this helped inspire Mickey's A Christmas Carol? No, I don't think so. That hand in the background painting here is oddly human. Maybe it's just because the fingernail being drawn on it is not like what you would find on a rat. Because, you know, like, if it were Warner Brothers, they would put a little claw on there, you know, like with Sylvester the cat, you know, just because he's a rat, he's not a human. This is a nice building. I feel like it looks a lot nicer in the miniatures in Storybook Land Canal, and even in the truncated, smaller version at the queue for the ride at Disneyland. And hello, Miraculous, welcome in. Hope you brought your copy of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Now, this is one of the first scenes you actually get in the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, is because you're entering a facade of Toad Hall. So you're driving into the library and nearly knocking McBadger off a ladder when he's trying to gather books. And it's a very nice estate. You know, McBadger's getting pissed, but he's the one who sent the letter. Oh, wait, never mind. I know, right? Yeah. Love little mole, he's so cute. But yeah, you crash into the library in the start of the ride and nearly knock McBadger off a ladder behind his desk there. And then you crash out of the fireplace. Well, yeah. He's a wealthy man. This is interesting. I think I drew a mole character at one point. He was like a big digging mole, so I gave him large human hands. But like I think I drew him with little ears because I think moles have no moles don't have external ears. A new mania. I love the way he jumps like that, the weight and his this is a great song. To Brittingham, to Buckingham, or any Hamlet by the sea. I love this song. I could see the drop shadow of the cell in one of the previous. Oh, I can see it here. The drop shadow of the cell. I love seeing those things. Love that mouth. I watched this movie a lot as a kid. I think there were parts I would probably like rewind and watch over and over again. Probably like wore out the tape even. But like, I love this. I love this movie. I love the Toad segment because I love the ride at Disneyland. So it's like, this one was always my favorite. And the Ichabod segment only really kicked in for me when it got to the Headless Horseman bit. Because it's like, that's the spooky part. That's the fun part. It's like, Toad is such a rambunctious character. You kind of... It's like, if you're a kid like me, you're probably not even aware of him being a wealthy British man. It's like, well, a wealthy British toad, but like, still, it's not... Also, I love the wordplay of Lancashire, Worcestershire, Devonshire, and not so sure, but we're gonna get there. I love that wordplay. It's like, I wish I kind of read who wrote the songs. Like, I swear they would have... I think at one point in the ride's existence, that soundbite, that exact soundbite was in a segment of the ride where you're, you know, crashing through like a British town. Yeah, the House of Mouse might have been some of people's first, bit of a trotter, bit of a ride. Yeah, that's a good line. But yeah, most people would probably be exposed to this character and these characters through the House of Mouse because, I mean, you probably would have only known the Reluctant Dragon as that one dragon you knew wasn't Pete's dragon, but you knew that that dragon had to have been from a Disney thing. The Reluctant Dragon's the one with the little ears and he's blue and he's got a very slender and small head. I mean, it's not one of the animated features, so we won't be talking about it. But from what I've seen of the short, I love this. I love his petulant. He's just chin up and he's not listening. And then he covers his ears. Has anyone else done this? Just like, just with the, just the. Have a lot of fun there. Yeah, if you're gonna talk about Disneyland, let's try to keep it to the Mr. Toad stuff, because that's kind of our area. Maybe that would be fun if they did a Sleepy Hollow ride, and I guess I'll get to my own ideas on that when we get there. I know, right? You know, I wouldn't say that Mr. Toad is actively a dick to his friends. He, you know, he's a little carefree, but I don't think he's actively, like, he cares about his friends. So he's, like, if he's a dick, it's definitely not on purpose. And, yep, he's gone off the bend. I love this. I love the miming of having a motor car and then by bouncing his ass on the ground, the clouds are popping up. This is fun and funny. And then this music is just a sped up instrumental of, it's a sped up instrumental of the, Merrily on Our Way to Nowhere that's played at the end sequence of the ride, which I'll get to later. Yeah. Such a little frog. He looked particularly froggy at that when he was walking up the stairs. Because half the time he really just looks like a normal little man. Just he doesn't have ears. And his nose is massive and flat and perks up a little bit. Whenever you see him in a profile of sort, he kind of looks froggy. Because I think, like, with both Mole and Mr. Toad, they're actually very good at applying kind of a hairline with, like, a very short, like, you know, color difference. It's kind of short and flat hair. Yeah. Molly is too innocent for this world. He's such a sweetheart. Yeah. I mean, he inherited his father's or even his grandfather's fortune and all his assets, and this is what he does. He's not a dick, but he is a little shit. I'll give you that. He's got major gremlin energy. Rob. Look at that. They just have a photographer on the police force, because that's a killer photo. Slow down, sir. I can't understand what you're saying. This is like in a few weeks, we're actually going to get a different trial segment that kind of runs through the you know, accusations just as quickly. This is the third last segment in the ride. And while this guy, this big chin guy, this very Broadway guy, this very theatrical prosecutor is like, he's totally guilty, is portrayed as the judge in the ride, oddly enough. It's kind of weird. I mean, it comes from the book. This is just how the world is. The animals talk, nobody questions it. It's very Looney Tunes in that regard. Ah, yeah, he's the one who doesn't give any actual answers. God, he'll take anything to get the guilty verdict. I guess they couldn't use this judge character in the ride because he's actually kind of a stand-up judge. Well, he's not dumb. Well, what's that phrase that everyone likes to use against? Yeah, I was gonna get to that in a bit. But no, not the judge. It's the prosecutioner. Because the character is not the judge. He's portrayed as the judge in the ride, but he's actually the prosecution. He's just a lawyer. What is he doing in the witness stand? Love the way he's just ducking in there. And I love this angle. That's the face. Like, that's the face they use in the ride. That side grin, the teeth is just, it's like, just such an iconic face. Yeah. It's like also, they repainted it like at least 5 years back and made it look super good and super on model in the ride. Like, they repaint it every few years or so, refurbish Mr. Toad every now and then, just like maybe go in for like a couple nights and then like, we're gonna make it prettier and we're gonna make it nicer, and then they always do. They always actually make it look really better than the last time. With the same cutouts. It's like the same plywood. The horse is such a fun character. He's a bit of a cockney. Actually, that's another thing. With the everyone is British. McBadger's Scottish, but he's from Great Britain largely. So it's like it's a very nice car. Seriously, like Toad constantly has great energy. The weasels from Roger Rabbit were basically actually these weasels. You know, in the logic of Roger Rabbit, where they're all actors, the weasels from Roger Rabbit are the weasels from Mr. Toad. I love how his hair is in the same shape of his mustache and he twirls it. That's just... See, I'm thinking about why is it in rhyme, but it might be because it's in rhyme in the book, but I don't actually know that. I love the little flat cap flipping up like that. This man. Hila doesn't care about the money. Yeah, boy. And down he goes. Love that. Just absolutely. Somebody get him. He had a stroke. Somebody get Big Badger. 100,000 pounds. Hey, anybody from England, could you tell me how much 100,000 pounds is? From 1949, 100,000 pounds. What is that today? I mean, fair. Like, the book does not take place in 1949, so maybe not perfect. But what is it? What is 100,000 pounds in 1949 money today? Because that is an obscene amount already. Like, even if I turn that into American dollars and said $100,000, even though that's not technically correct, that's a lot. That would be a mad change. I love this. It's like, it's so subtle, but it's just the confidence on display for Toad that he's just strutting out of the court. I also love that the guy had the door open. He was willing to let Toad go until it's like, oh yeah, his guilt is sealed with that testimony. It's like, what the fuck? It is insane. Oh boy. They 1.2 million. That's a lot. And if that's what the estate is worth, Toad is basically a millionaire in today's money. Because, I mean, because, like, he doesn't just have the house and all its furnishings. He has liquid assets, I'm sure. I mean, he's not allowed to touch those. I mean, I imagine after buying the traveling cart, he wasn't really allowed to purchase anything else. I think my Mother's Day was okay. We watched a few fun movies. Got her flowers. You know, normal Mother's Day stuff. Yeah. Yeah. $20 million? Okay. I guess you're basing that off of when the book originally came out. Right, Ryder? Which would be much more accurate. Again, very, very wealthy man. 1890, yeah. That's like 200 years difference. 100 some odd years. It's just so pathetic looking. It's so sad. Well, sure, yeah. I mean, the financial crashes in America and England are very different. 20 million pounds. Definitely a millionaire. Like, in fact, technically, he probably would have been a millionaire back then. The estate is worth 100,000 pounds, but then how many more hundreds of thousands of pounds does he have in liquid assets? Also, I love this. It's so smart. Also, maybe it's just me, but does it sound like Cyril and Mr. Winky are played by the same guy? Or is it just me? Because it sounds like it's the similar nasal, but it's also just a slightly different tone. And if it is two different, and if it is the same guy, it's a very good voice actor. Good change in his voice. I think at least one of these police officers is one of the police officers you see in the actual ride. I think it's the one, like, okay, so you got a bunch of them running the streets. I love the fog. That cannot have been terribly easy to, like, say, oh, we're gonna add fog to the screen, but also still make everything completely readable. I mean, they probably had to add some bloom. Like, they probably had to, like, backlight it somewhat. And maybe they had to dim the light on the animation camera as well. Yeah, I think this officer, like, I think a version of this officer is either, like, the first officer you come across, like, he blows the whistle and holds out his hand, to you in the ride. That's like when you crash out of Toad Hall and end up on the countryside of London, that's the first cop you see. And then the other one kind of looks like him, but his face is a little longer. Off he goes. I really think Mr. Toad is just obsessed with travel. I mean, we saw him, like, in the opening, in the drawings in the book. We saw him, you know, like, hiking and mountain climbing and hunting. He likes travel in all its forms. And new forms of travel just excite him. God. Just... yeah, waste your bullets, guys. God. Off they go. Also love the embers that come off of the train smokestack and the rails too. Just love it. Cyril is J. Pat O'Malley and Winky is Alec Harford. Fair enough. I mean, if one guy was gonna do two nasally voices and have them sound that different, it's already a challenge in and of itself. Even Tweety and Bugs Bunny sound pretty similar, you know, taking into account their speech impediments and whatnot. So that train, this is the train segment. At the end of the ride, you exit the courthouse, and then a train is coming at you. You crash head on into the train. And that's when something that absolutely does not happen in the movie happens. You die and go to hell for being a reckless driver and crashing headlong into a train. It's like, the moral of the story is, drive carefully and always wear your seatbelt. So yeah, it's even more cheeky. The original version in Disneyland literally had a giant gaping Satan's maw and welcome in flames behind it. Well, Disneyland was for the kids and the adults. I'm pretty sure the welcome to hell bit was, you know, a joke for the adults. They'll never say the word out loud, but it is hell. They The new version, as it exists nowadays from the 80s onwards, they turned the giant devil maw into rock work. And I kind of love that. You can actually look at old newspaper photographs. Okay, and whomp. They really just knocked him over on his ass. And... unlucky bastard. Also, I love Rat's mustache. And McBadger's beard is also really good. Oh, this is also a really great line. My siblings and I quote this all the time. Afraid of the police? Open up, I say! The police! God. It's so funny. And the fact that, like, I don't think I've seen it turn into a meme, but it totally should. Even that face is really good. This whole short is so much fun. They just... Yep. That's also... I love silhouettes, you know, when they're done super well as well. I think the real trick of it is that Mr. Winky, like, was just a random bartender. And it's like, he witnessed the deed, he signed off on it, and so the Weasels were like, anything we could do to repay you, Governor. And then he's like, oh, you could let me crash with you guys. I mean, I did witness the deed. It's like, you know what? All's fair is fair, you know? Your drinks are on the house, of course, Governor. Of course. Well, they're on Toad's tab. I'm just making up fan fiction now. Just what happened in Toad Hall while everyone else was out farting about thinking that Toad was guilty. Yep. Got to get that paper away from Winky. Seriously, I could quote this till the cows come home. The cadences. Like, everything about this short is done so well. The animation, the design, the voices, the cadences and their vocal inflections and everything. Just so well done. And I love that the narrator is whispering. Love that. It's so great. The narrator doesn't need to whisper. Nobody can hear him. But it's great. It adds to the moment. That ain't great. I'm glad we're not trusting Toad with the gun. Mole! Mole! You gotta have a better fucking grab on that gun. See, he looked very froggy from this angle specifically. He just looks like a little man most of the time. The weasels look like weasels. Mole looks like a mole. Badger looks like a badger. Toad looks like a little man. He's just a little guy. It also kind of helps, like, again, you have different voice actors separate from the narrator, whereas in the second segment, it's not bad, but it's different. It's just different how they handle the narration and the dialogue in that short. Never mind, though, that, you know, the songs in this movie are absolutely great. We got like 3 songs in this movie, and they're all great. It's actually Blueheart's birthday, if you want to say a happy birthday, Mirror Bear. Loving it. I love it. He just... He probably didn't even know. Like, the Weasel probably didn't even know that secret passage was there, and then it's like, oh, guys, you just blew your cover. Did he just tread water? Or, like... Because, like... Love Mr. Winky's little red nose. It's just such a punchable face. It's with such a punchable mustache. Sorry, but if you have a mustache like that, then you need to shave the ends off of it. Speaking of which, I need to shave the ends off of mine. I mean, it's not nearly as big as that one, but it definitely curls up on the end. Curse my naturally curly hair going into my mustache, you know? Just, come on. Maybe just get a beard straightener. The nervousness. You can just feel like the, oh. You can just feel the oh shit moments. Just like, You can't hate Molly. You really can't. He's such a good, he's the goodest boy. And this is great. He's like, oh! That was an excellent throw. Yeah. How does that... And they just didn't bother to even animate his reflection, because I guess that would have given the gag away. Still. Now this is the second part of the ride. Like after you crash through the fireplace, a suit of armor nearly falls on top of you, which I think happens a little later. Oh god. Love this. This is very Looney Tunes right here. Oh, he's pinned. That's good use of your bowling pin sound effect. Belly over here. Mr. Toad's just got these really delicate and dainty hands. I love it. We'll probably find a lot of reused animation. You know, once we get past like Sleeping Beauty, we're gonna see a lot of reused animation. He's just, yeah. Why are there gun-firing sound effects for the knives? So the second segment of the ride, a suit of armor almost falls on you, and then you go into the hallway where the weasels are swinging from the chandeliers like Toad is right now. Fucking hell! Never connected that before. That is fucked up. And I think this is where it comes from, the suit of armor falling over, because I think one of these, you know, just falls apart. No! Ah, he's not gonna have much hat left. A man is... shit. Where is everybody? They run at him. And one of the suits of armor falls over here, I think. Yeah, there it goes. They both fall over, but that one more noticeably falls over. And then you crash into the jungle. Then you crash into the dining room, out of it, into the English countryside, then dodge the police, go through a warehouse of TNT, end up on the city streets, end up in the court, and then crash into the train, and then die. I love this. That is great. They very brilliantly established, like, we don't remember where the paper ended up. Yeah. Yep. Of course. That painting gets a lot of action. I think, like, even like the statue of Toad, like, very much it's more of an open mouth pose with him kind of like bending over. It's like, oh god. Ah, now you knocked that thing over. I endear him. Hello, you fellows. Come, I'll show you the travel change excitement. It's a great bookend. The Chauncey Canterbury Tales next to the Toad book there. Did he call him fabulous? Oh god. I think at least some of those would be turned into animations. Paul Bunyan would turn into an animation. Yeah. So we got 2 songs. Oh, wait, no, I forgot there's a 4th song in this movie, and it's also a really good song. Oh, I forgot about Katrina. We'll get to her in a minute. New York City! Upstate New York? Ooh. I mean... I wonder if anybody ever visits that church ever again. Oh, yes. And there we go with the shadows. Really well painted. Lanky. I mean... Yeah, he's a strange one at that. Ichabod in this is very much just your everyman. He's just an average Joe. He just happens to be this lanky, skeletal boy. Oh yeah. He's got one of those noses. You never forget a nose like that. You know, we never really... Yeah, the Sleepy Hollow boys really just kind of treated like the, I think Little is definitely... Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, like versus Gaston, what we gather from Brom Bones is that he's actually kind of a stand-up character, if a little bit of a prankster, you know? Like a pillar of the community, in a sense. Everyone's like, is there any meat on that man? And careful. Never can be too careful. We were already giving him a sense of his superstitious nature. Like, sure. Well, that's the same woman doing both of those. Now there's two women there. Aw. I think she's kind of taken with him. So that's the schoolhouse. So I guess people do go to the church, because by the end there is a wedding. Spoiler alert, there's a wedding. But I'm pretty sure, I think most people are familiar with this. He's, very persnickety. I'll give him that. Keeping an eye on children's health, I suppose. Oof. He just had this impression with just how stuffed his lunch basket when it was like, you know, I think I know where I'm eating tonight. I think they intended that they paint the shadow on the backdrop and then they would animate the Quill's shadow specifically. You're gonna find very quickly social calendar. Ladies Auxiliary, Ladies of Sleepy Hollow Choral Society. It's like, oh, you may be a humble little town, but you can always be a right proper humble little town. That's kind of why he's here. Love Bing Crosby's voice, but also gotta love the animation. It's like his animation is silly and great, but the women also look very silly, and it's great. God. Brombones has such a sway over the town. He's even got the dogs like, hey, I mean, you know, man, when the booze is pouring and you're paying. I mean, a man with a howl like that, right? And there's the chuckles. He steps delicately, at least. Yes, I was trying to say earlier. You find very quickly that Ichabod is one of those people who you're like, how are you a skeleton? You eat like a horse! I love his little red nose. Look at this man. So jolly. All that rose is very pretty on the background. No, very true. Yep. You know, nearby farmer, or I guess, yeah. I'm talking over it, so now I really don't know why he's here in town. And really, I mean, why are songs about beautiful women always bringing up random other women's names who rhyme just to say, oh, they're nothing in comparison to her? Just delicate, delicate, splish splash, I was taking a bath. And Ichabod Crane pays no mind. Beautiful blue eyes. Oh. Woof. Well, now you know this man's all topsy-turvy, because that's... good lord. Oh, that poor girl just trying to keep herself from getting splattered with ink on her fancy dress. Well, maybe not fancy. That's not her Sunday best, but, like, still. This man has no chin. God. Look at him go. It's basically what Autistic Writer said earlier. How I love her! Father's money. Seriously, she is drawn very pretty. Like, this is... And the next movie is basically gonna have that pretty woman back with, you know, maybe with a more reasonable waistline. With Cinderella next week. Cause, like, damn. They just draw a lot of pretty girls. God damn, what a bastard. You know, let's give Ichabod a little bit of credit. The money may have an aspect to it, but he also owns a farm? You know, farms are where food comes from, so Of course he's down bad for a woman who has a wealthy father with a farm! A farm! Food! Farms come from food! Food comes from... Holy shit! Yeah. I think if someone... It's so interesting to think of someone from New York as a country bumpkin. But you know, once upon a time... New York was young and America was old. She really doesn't... It's like the only gentleman caller she doesn't prefer is this big brawny man. It's like, oh, like, you're so strong. What kind of a gentleman are you? You're just kind of a show-off. It's like, well, like, sure, Brom may be a bit of a show-off, but mind you this, he's not terrible. At least that we know. The fucking the way they did that, just this man. Meep meep. Look at him go. Oh, off he goes to the races. And it's Ichabod Crane to take the Kentucky Derby and the whole bowl, the whole enchilada, the extra 9 yards. The cup is his. He can pass a horse. That is definitely true. It's like... Ichabod is nothing if not even-tempered, whereas Brom Bones is very hot-headed. he was literally ready to throw hands. Man is not having it. He is not. Oh god. Oh, dude, why'd you pour the potatoes? This is also a really great bit here. He goes, his eyes are blood red, and he just goes, boom. Yeah, there are some good faces in the, you know what? I think more memes come out of this short because most people are familiar with it. Like, a lot of the animations from this short have turned into memes, but I think Mr. Toad deserves his due, you know? Because I think I've seen, like, Brom Bones gone all dizzy and watching the blurry image of 2 Ichabods dancing carefree off in the sunset is turned into a meme. I love this. This is such a, this is such a sitcom, like, what? He did what? He kissing my girl? It's like, Minecraft. Again, yeah, that gets me. This is a great bit. Little man. Now, Brom Bones, you wouldn't. Not in front of the lady. The fact that that didn't hurt is just a testament to this man's all-around strength. His calluses must be just insane. I mean, he did punch a wooden barrel earlier, but that's different than punching through into the hollow of a tree. Yep. Unfortunately for Ichabod, he was holding the horseshoe upside down, and according to some people, if you hold the horseshoe upside down, all the good luck spills out. I've seen this. I've seen this turn into a meme of some sort with like a caption or something. No one punches trees like Brom Bones. I think Gaston would like a word with you. Oof. Think about Crane Esquire. You are cordially invited to attend a frolic at Mynheer Baltus von Tassel's home. Oh, and she... P.S. Come, Katrina. Oh, she adds to her father's bog standard letter. You think her father, like, approves of any of her gentleman callers? Because she's got a lot of them. She just happens to be smitten with Ichabod particularly. Look at that crooked little smile. He's a funny man. Lanky old man. I mean, I guess better chalk dust than asbestos, I guess. I mean, not that they would use asbestos for that. I'm just saying. They're both white and chalky powders. This horse, God. Love the doors. The doors are really well drawn. I love looking at this to see how the characters are drawn from a distance with basically dot eyes and minimal details. It's great. You really think so? Cause she gawked at his snootiness. This man will go for all the food in the land, and he'll still be thin as a, stiff as, light as a feather, stiff as a board. No. Rude enough. And then Brom gets himself an idea. I mean, perhaps. Brom Bones is definitely the most jealous person in the room right now. You know, Brom. You know, she's probably happier than she's ever been because it's the first time anyone's actually offered to dance with her, rather than getting saddled with a different partner. You know, Sir Brom Bones, if she's this well fed, then her family must have some wealth. Because if you're really, it's like, because like his goals could be no different than Katrina's, than Ichabod's. Like, oh, sure, she's a beautiful woman, and I love her for that, and she's so kind and sweet, but, like, you know, she also comes from money. He let loose the crazy dancing lady, so you know. Her animation is so fun, too. She just, the energy. Absolutely beautiful. Like, this is like a Looney Tunes bit. She's escaped. She's loose. Ah! Where'd he go? The band is also having a good time. Yeah? Oh, he was giving it his all. He was having a grand old time. He just happened to be reminded of it in this particular moment. This man just took the whole buffet. One of everything. Love it. You can hear that he was doing that. Ben Crosby, you could hear how low he was going into the laugh from Brom Bones, and he was doing that spooky old man voice. Love. Again, the shaking. It's like you do a lot, like play the characters' hand animations back and forth between the next frame and the previous frame, and it gets a good jitter going. It's so effective. And the way they play with shadows here is great. Looking grown and hit the road for parts unknown. You can be as turtle as you want, but your nose will still be exposed. The zoom in on that is really great. Brahma's really laying it on thick. That had to be different guys than Bing, though, because there were 3 voices there. Unless they literally recorded Bing Crosby 3 times, you know. I mean, no reason they couldn't have. I'm just saying, you know, that's easier to do in today's technology. Just... Hip and a crippity clop. Yep. Yep. Paprika? 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 That is a great question. There's something, I mean, yes, that makes a lot of sense, because, like, it's a thing with old vampire lore, too, because running water washes away. It's like purity. It's very... So it's like they can't cross because it's kind of lively. So this segment, where the narration cuts out entirely, and you just put ourselves in the environment. God. He almost looks like a different character, and I think it's largely part of the fact that he's not smiling. Like, Ichabod Crane is such a happy fellow. But when he's not smiling, he feels like a totally different person. He feels like, who is this man? It's like, he's deathly afraid of anything, let alone the clouds of hands covering the moon. Oof. It's, yeah, love this. This poor old horse. I feel bad for this horse as well. That horse is past its prime. Not nearly the same length as Ichabod in horse terms, but definitely skin and bones like Ichabod. A horse and his master looking frightfully similar. You pick it up, Buttercup. Love that. Claude Coates also worked on the Haunted Mansion. You can actually see a caped, hood ghost with 2 glowing eyes off in some mausoleum in the graveyard sequence that looks kind of similar to that tree with the fireflies in it. Love this. This is great. It's like the way they make the animals sound like they're saying words. ICHABOD. 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 And the cricket saying, turn back, ICHABOD, turn back, ICHABOD. Now you can hear the hallowing. It's so fucking good. The build-up alone. And they never lose the comedy aspect either. Because he's just a funny, lanky man. The crow saying beware along with the frog croaking ICHABOD. I think I really like the... Another reason he could probably look like a totally different character is probably because a completely different animator is animating him for this sequence. You know, and there's just slight differences in how the animator draws him than the previous animators did in the previous sequences. Oh, those cattails. Those are alright. Like those are like the... Those are like cattails. Oh, he's cracked. He is absolutely cracked. He's lost it. A man has gone completely off the bend. But in a good way. Ah, we're alive. God damn it, we're alive. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. The horseman and his horse all in shadow. Just fucking grabbing on the legs. And again, the sparks flying up from the street, from the path, just from how fast they're going. Just like, you love it. A hellbound horse, breathing blowing smoke. Faster. Oh, God. This is the jump. That's... God. They pulled in front. They pulled in front. He's like, excuse me, sir. I'd like to talk to you about your car's extended warranty. Just... Oh, come on, complete the syllable count. Hellbound Horseman. Pronounced Hellbound Horseman, of course. God. When I drew this guy for that one live stream way back, and then I did the thumbnail and cleaned it all up, that was a lot of fun. Because drawing the silhouette of this guy and just getting the shape, just great. Wait. Horse? We're going the wrong damn way! Also, the great smears on his head turning back and forth. Using some multiples on his eyes a few times. The horse also looks good in the hat, you know? The tri-corner hat. You know, we should bring the tri-corner hat back. It's a good hat. It's good style. I mean, I'm sure, like, living history towns always wear those kinds of hats, but, like, come on, we gotta bring it back to the modern era. It's a good hat. Just like a small version like Ichabod's got in his puny little head, you know? God. I love that. I love that. He looks like a bird. The bird looks like the top of an umbrella with a hook on it. He made it. He made it across. Oof. Yeah. She changed her mind. Let's be fair. Yep. Now, I gotta let him say his bit. Hip and a clippity clop. He's out looking for a head to swap. So don't try to figure out a plan. You can't reason with a headless man. I love that. That's the really quotable line from this movie, especially since everybody remembers it since it's at the end of the movie. But for real. Man, I'm getting out of here. Just love that line. Love that line. Such a great way to close out a movie with such a spooky story. Let me just say, this was a great package together. You wouldn't think it necessarily. Like, if you thought, like, oh, let's take this one British talking animal story and then this American ghost story, and let's put them in the same movie. The thing is, the library being the framing device is what makes it work so well. And passing on from a British narrator to an American narrator, like Bing Crosby in like 1949 is about as all-American as you could get, while also being a great singer with a beautiful voice to be able to carry the songs in the movie. So yeah, I think they did an excellent job with this film. And let's also, like, I do want to discuss, like, the story, the ending of the story. What do I think happened? Now, let's comb through all the possibilities. First possibility is that Brom Bones was the Headless Horseman, and Ichabod is still alive, married to a wealthy widow somewhere further up the countryside. And Brom Bones would have then wed Katrina with no other alternative. Now, crossed over with the Headless Horseman being real, Brom Bones' response would have been he ran chicken just from a little ghost story and didn't even bother to come back for you. That would be his tale. That's how he would spin it, whether it was him who did it or if the Headless Horseman was real. Now, here's the kick in the shins, right? Because if Brom Bones did it, he'd be a bit of an asshole. And yes, we know him to be a jokester. And sure, he was willing to go as far as have Ichabod fall into a fucking wine cellar, like, so he's not above, like, physical harm. But, like, at the same time, I really don't think that Brom Bones is that kind of guy. I think Brom Bones told the story, and it spooked Ichabod so much that he hallucinated. I think that's probably how it happened. Which then leads to the alternative, the real question. Whether he hallucinated or the ghost was real, and only he could perceive the ghost because he's so set in his superstitions. Like, he never walks under a ladder, never lets a cat cross his path, always carries a horseshoe to its turn for its good luck, and spills salt and he pours it over his shoulder all the time. He follows all the superstitions, and thus only he can perceive the supernatural. Or he's just hallucinating. But the real question is, did he survive or did he die? If the ghost was real, then he either escaped or the ghost killed him and took his head. But that wouldn't quite make sense, right? Because he made it across the bridge, so if he died, whether it was real or a hallucination, he had to have died of fright. Which, is that terribly unlikely that he died from fear. Just went so heart palpitatingly far that he just up and croaked. He was by no means an unhealthy individual. I mean, like, come on. So my thought is that whatever you want to believe, I think he died of fright. And as such, because they never found him. If he had married a widow further up the country, somebody might have bothered to go looking. Maybe even Katrina. But they never did. So I think he died. How did he die? That's the question. Was the ghost real, or was it all in his head? That, I think, is the question. His hat is gone. He left so quickly. I mean, sure. But, like, he kept that hat on throughout the entire chase. So, I don't know. I think he died. It's kind of the... It's kind of the best of all endings, right? That Brom Bones didn't chase him. He hallucinated. He died. And thusly, Katrina had no other choice. Because they don't believe their own ghost story, right? They don't believe it. So obviously, Brom Bones' explanation would be a logical one, like, he just left you because he got spooked. Yeah, spooked to death. I mean, I don't know of the book. And, like... when you adapt it, if you leave things like that out, you leave those kind of ideas out. It's like, and the thing is, like, Brom Bones dressed as the Headless Horseman during the song, which you could see as a connection that maybe Bronze dressed up as the Horseman. But again, I'd like to think that he was hallucinating. That was a lot of paprika for one man just before bedtime. I'm just saying. It's like, we're not gonna forget he's fucking, like, pretty hot stuff. But largely, I think that the Mr. Toad segment, like, let me go on and on about the Ichabod Crane segment, but the Mr. Toad segment is so overlooked. The Wind of the Willows, such a delightful, charming characters, and fun, madcap energy, courtroom shenanigans, and a great finale, right? Like, both of these films have great grand finales, but only one has, you know, a happy ending. The other one is so open-ended, you really can't tell whether to laugh or cry. But yeah, no, like, for all intents and purposes, I think, like, Team Miraculous thought of, like, Sleepy Hollow Ride. How I would do a Legends of Sleepy Hollow Ride is that you would board your little car, and the queue would have a mural of the town in broad daylight and all the characters, and Brom Bones off to the side looking off jealously at Ichabod and Katrina, arms linked together, and something like that. And then once you actually enter the attraction, you're, like, basically what you start with is you start in the rambunctious schoolhouse, and there's a bunch of kids throwing things at each other, where love-struck Ichabod is behind the desk. Then we go through a nice little picnic in the park that leads us to the night of the Halloween festivities. And then inside, we have the song, like, playing on a loop where Brom Bones is telling his story with a few effects here and there. And then the final segment of the ride would be the chase through the spooky forest running away from the Headless Horseman. And it would end just as ambiguously as the original movie. You make it across the bridge, or maybe you're heading towards something that makes it look like you're really heading toward the bridge, but it's actually just two plywood doors, and right ahead of you is a projection of the Headless Horseman, and then he throws the pumpkin right at you, and it explodes, and the lights flash, and then those two doors open, and the ride is over. What happened? We don't know. Maybe it was all in our head. But that would be fun. That'd be really fun, I think. A Sleepy Hollow ride. It could be called, like, there was Snow White's Scary Adventure, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, Pinocchio's Daring Journey, and they don't have Snow White's Scary Adventure 4, so they could call this Ichabod Crane. Ghostly Cavort, or I don't know what a good word for travel is. Journey, adventure, ride, I don't know. Whatever you could call it. But yeah, no. Definitely think people should take The Wind in the Willows a little more to heart because there's a lot of good segments in it. Make some more memes of it because it is meme worthy. Oh wait, no, I did see one person who went around like posting screen caps with the text of the segment. It's like, how did he get the motor car? The only way a gentleman gets anything, the honest way. What's the honest way? Ha! Thought you wouldn't know that, governor. It's just great. But yeah, no, definitely great. Love this movie. I see you guys got a lot of thoughts on it. It's not a great theory. Life is often messy, especially on the time period. It seems fitting. Like I said, I like to think that the three characters had done understandable and inexcusable things that it ends up having some sort of karma for Ichabod and Katrina. And Squaddle just fucking quoting me on the paprika bit. Okay. Okay. If I did alternative titles for these instead of the title of the movie we were watching, I would totally title this, "That's a lot of paprika for one man before bedtime." The One of the Willows is so overlooked, it's not known worldwide. I wouldn't have known of its existence if I wasn't interested on what Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was based on. That is very true. I mean, like, yeah, because, like, I think most people could say, like, I think most people have probably seen this, right? And they just forget about the Wind of the Willows segment, and then they're like, and then when they go to Disneyland, they're like, this was based on that movie, wasn't it? The movie, it says Mr. Toad, wasn't that Ichabod and Mr. Toad? It was like, that was the thing in the segment that nobody remembers. But, like, I don't know, I feel like more people, but now that Disney Plus exists, I'm hoping more people around the world can be exposed to the Wind in the Willows half of this movie, because it is a good half. It's fun, the characters are charming. I mean, if Winnie the Pooh gets a pass for being so tooth-rottingly charming, then why can't Mr. Toad? And, you know, just happen to have the madcap energy all the way. It's like if the main character of Winnie the Pooh was Tigger, but he was also, you know, a humble individual who really didn't care about his money. You know, it was just, you know, a little off the end. It was just a little crazy. Yeah, but aren't we all a little crazy? I have a lot more to say about this movie. And the animation. God, the animation is some of my favorite that Disney has ever done. No doubt. Perfect Disney animation across the board. It's just great. I mean, you have the 9 old legends working on this movie. It's just great. That's fair, that's fair. I mean, it all depends on what you go around for. It's like, some people are so, like, blind to culture that they would have ended up seeing would have never been to a Disney park, saw Pirates of the Caribbean the movie, and then thought the ride was based off the movie, because that's just how the passage of time works in people's heads sometimes. Anyway, but I think that's just it. I think that's it. I think I've exhausted all the talking points, like, during the movie, after the movie, like, God, I can't love this movie anymore if I goddamn tried. Also, justice for Tiny. That's what I'm gonna call her. The little short fat woman in the green dress. You know, just justice for Tiny. F in chat for Tiny. Get a date for Tiny. Somebody get Tiny a date. She needs a date. All right. She's just great. I love her energy. She's so sweet in every scene she's in. I like her. I like Tiny. She's great. She's great. I'll marry Tiny. F's in chat for Tiny. Thank you. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me. Legitimately, we have like 4 concurrent viewers at a time here. Thank you, legitimately, so much for joining. But if you are viewing this after the fact or coming back and watching it again, thanks for watching. Sickness for the thickness, you know it. And remember to take care, stay safe, and be kind in all that you do. Good night, everybody! Make sure you cross that bridge, my friends. Then the ghost through his power ends.